Okay, my talk's going to take a little bit of a different tact. There's been a lot of graphs and pure science up here today, and my job as a Marine Park Regional Coordinator is to work across compliance, stewardship and monitoring and evaluation. So I see sort of my role in science as sharing it with the community, so the local community. I live in Port Lincoln and I'm seeing it as really important to get the science out to the local community. So this project looks at bio-blitzes that we've had in some local marine parks, but it's really more about creating a connection with the local community and getting them to create their own individual connection with the ocean, basically so they'll protect it in the future. So, as I said, a little bit of a different tack. There's some pictures of me up there. I want you guys to all think back to a moment or a place in time where science and nature really stood out for you, when your passion for science really stood out. For me, the picture up here is me at the Coorong. We had a shack at the Coorong with my family, and for me that's where it really started. So the bird life there, the fish, the change from the lakes in the Coorong to the offshore area, the blasting waves out there, just this, even the smell I can still remember. So for me that's where it started. And that wonder that I had there turned into wanting more information, to search for knowledge, which then turned into university and then a career. And you're probably thinking, well, why the hell is this important? But it is so important. The theme of this conference is, I will tell you, sharing science for better outcomes. And we need scientists for the future, so I see it as our role as scientists to educate the younger generation so we do have more scientists for the future. So unfortunately, by the time many children become adults, they've actually lost that sense of wonder about nature and the environment because they haven't been given the opportunities to develop their own lasting connection with the environment. So for many, they can see the environment or the ocean as a natural resource, not much more. Whereas we all know it's much more than that. So it's really important to bring the younger generation on a journey, and this project involves not only classroom work, but it involves field trips as well. So the first part of the project is to talk to the kids in the classroom, get them hooked, tell them some really cool things about our cool marine environment here in South Australia, and use the passion and emotion. I'm obviously really passionate about the environment, so I really hope that portrays to them as well. The second part of it is we don't have a natural history museum in Port Lincoln, so I set one up in the local library with lots of bones and info and stuff like that. So they not only got to learn about it in the classroom, then they got to go and touch and feel and learn in a museum as well. But the real clincher for this project is getting them out into the field. And we heard Uncle Lewis talk this morning about how important it is for Aboriginal communities to be able to share and be involved in science because they hold that scientific knowledge of ancestral knowledge is really important. So the field trips that we do involve not only having the kids out on the beach, but we have the ancestral people of that area there as well. So we do a welcome to country, we do a smoking ceremony, and then we have a half-day session where they talk about their connection to sea country, how important that area is for them. They talk about the fish traps, how they fished there, why that area is important. And to me, that's really important because those kids, those students out there are seeing how important that environment is to people that have been there for thousands of years, and which is really important. The second part is coming out to the beach and doing some scientific stuff, so measuring. I actually have a video which I'll show next, but it's basically about showing the scientific connection that I have and the ancestral connection that the Aboriginal people have and letting the kids create their own connection. So this short film just shows you some of the work that we do on these days. This students were able to actually get out in the field and undertake some marine science. They actually got to witness how the land connects with the sand dunes, which connects with the beach and the intertidal zone, which then connects out to the marine environment.
Being able to share Aboriginal knowledge with contemporaries, science and connecting the two.
All the little critters that we found in the sand that I didn't know was there. I find doing practical more exciting because I have to visualise things, so yeah, I've learnt a lot.
They're also involved in shorebird and seabird surveys, so it was important for them to understand what kind of birds were there, what seasonal birds might be there. Some weren't there at the time, they knew that some would return later. They're looking at things that they might eat within the sand. They're also able to do a vegetation survey in the sand dunes, so they're looking at what type of plants are on the sand dune, how they helped the sand dunes actually stay there. So those plants are really important for making the sand dunes stable. They learn about what adaptations those plants might need to have to grow and live in such a harsh environment. And after we looked at the coastal area, then we looked at the actual beach, so we were able to undertake some physical measurements like the length of the beach itself from the sand dunes to the water, and look at what the slope of the beach and look at the sand grain size, and all of those things actually tell us what kind of ecology or how many animals would actually live in the sand there.
They've got a better understanding of the role that the marine science, I guess, plays in local community issues and the relevance of things like marine parks to the local community, and it really gives them a chance to engage in it and understand it and form their own opinions.
They actually got out into the environment and witnessed firsthand what was there and do the science with me as a marine biologist and Greg Kerr as a regional ecologist and Katrina Podke as a plant specialist. They're actually able to be out there with us and ask us questions that they needed to on the spot, and it was just a much better way that these kids could learn. They were so much more engaged out in the field.
It's such a spiritual place. You feel a very ancient presence there, and it's something that we'd love to maintain and protect for future generations.
It's also important to note there that the data we collect on these Bio-blitz days fits into the monitoring and evaluation program as well. So it is about, marine park stewardship, but it's also about the science as well, which is really important. Oh, that's awful, sorry. Okay, next slide. So the class that you saw was a Year 11 aquatic science class from the Port Lincoln High School, but I've also done this work with Year 7 classes as well. It works really well at Year 7 level, but you could do this for any age group. It's just limited by the amount of people you've got to do it, but it really, really does have an amazing impact on these kids. You'd see them change from not really giving a crap about the environment to actually learning about it and forming their own connection. And yeah, it's just really cool to see. Should just note that that's my son up there on the left, and we're about to go for a snorkel, so it's important to bring the really young ones along too. So why is this important? Well, children are our future scientists, leaders, teachers, lawyers, NRM managers, fishermen and seafood consumers. So basically, if they're not connected to their natural world, they're not going to make decisions to protect it. So we need to create that wonder and connection that then drives a search for knowledge. And that knowledge is power, and connection creates the drive. And the personal connection for each of the individual kids is really key. So I just want to finish with a little bit of inspiration. The top picture up there is a little 3-year-old girl we had out on an intertidal reef walk that we had in January. And you just look at the look on her face. She's completely immersed in it. But there's wonder, there's awe. She's loving it. And then if you look at the picture of Professor Emma Johnson up there, who we heard as our keynote speaker this morning, pretty much the same face. But the point is, that little 3-year-old girl can end up being someone like Emma Johnson. But we need to bring them along for the ride. We need to create those opportunities for them to be involved in science and to create their connection with the environment. And I see that as our role to do that. The last thing I just want to show you is a Year 7 girl from the Port Lincoln Primary School. She went through this project as well, and I'll just leave you with some words from her which I think are quite powerful.
And I think the most important stuff that I learned was how there's lots of endemic sea creatures only to South Australia that we really need to protect, that I didn't even know were there, that a lot of people don't know that are there. A lot of people, oh yeah, I'll just drop my chip packet because it's not going to affect anyone, when really it does. Like when you showed the pictures of all the animals that got caught up with fishing line, and so many people just go, oh yeah, I'll just leave that out there because that won't affect anything, when really it does. And I think more people need to know about that, more awareness of what you're doing. You're not the only one here. Other animals need to survive too.